An old man in Tennessee threw a rusty bicycle chain tied to his fishing line and caught 23 catfish in a single weekend. The guy next to him had a $120 store-bought rig, tungsten sinker, and imported premium bait. He caught four. I saw it happen personally. I stood there, bewildered, for a good few minutes. The old man didn't use any spray, any special lure, any equipment you'd recognize in a store. He grabbed the old chain from a broken bicycle that was leaning against the side of his truck, the one that was going to the junkyard the following week, tied it directly above the bait with a simple knot, and threw it without any ceremony. No comment, no explanation. He just threw it. In less than 40 minutes, the first big catfish bit. Then the second. Then the third. The guy next to him with the expensive rig just stared. He checked his equipment, changed the lure, tried a different spray. Nothing. The old man was already on his fifth catch. The thing is, the chain wasn't just functioning as a weight. It was creating two things at the same time that no store-bought weight can replicate. And one of those things you'll never find on a shelf. If you want to fish like this, stay until the end, and I'll show you everything. The contrast was absurd. An item that cost $0, taken from an old bicycle, humiliating a setup that cost a week's salary. The chain swayed on the bottom with the current, articulating each link, creating constant microturbulence. And along with this movement, the rust released something into the water that the catfish simply couldn't ignore. What exactly? That's something the industry prefers you never find out. Comment below which city you're watching from. I want to know where these folks who really fish come from. But before I show you the step-by-step process, you need to understand why stores never tell you this. Because there's a very specific reason for all this silence. And when you understand it, you'll be angry. Fishing stores in the United States make billions a year. Billions. And a good portion of that money comes precisely from you buying special weights, synthetic attractants, $30 sprays that promise results that a $0 item from your garage delivers better. If everyone knew that an old bicycle chain works like that, the catfish attractor shelf would be empty the following week. I'm not saying that every store-bought product is useless. I'm saying that there's knowledge that river dwellers in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas used decades before any spray paint appeared. That knowledge disappeared because you can't package it in a little box with a colorful logo. A rusty chain isn't patented. It doesn't have a profit margin, so nobody's going to advertise it. The old fishermen didn't even know how to explain the science behind it. They just knew it worked. They used it instinctively, passed it on to their sons, their grandsons, until the grandson went to the store and traded the trick for the spray, and lost the knowledge along with the change. And it wasn't just in Tennessee. This same pattern repeated itself in completely different rivers, in different states, with fishermen who didn't even know each other. And that's where the story gets interesting, because there's a biological explanation for all of this that most fishermen have never heard of. But before we get into that, let me tell you about something that brings together everything those ancients knew. Because the rusty chain is just one piece. The masters of fishing knew how to read the current, identify bottom structure, understand the behavior of catfish in heat and cold. I've gathered all this knowledge that the industry buried in high-level fishing. The water game. Stores will never teach you how to read the river because selling knowledge doesn't yield as much profit as selling equipment. The link pinned in the comments has the complete guide for you to truly understand the water and stop depending on expensive products. Just download it. Now, before I show you how to prepare the chain, you need to understand what happens in the water when it hits the bottom. Because without understanding why, you'll set it up incorrectly and waste an entire fishing trip. The item is an old bicycle chain. Simple as that. It sounds crazy. But science explains it, and explains it very well. When rusted iron comes into contact with running water, it continuously releases particles of iron oxide and Fe2+ and Fe3+ ions. These compounds disperse in a chemical trail that spreads with the current, creating an invisible path tens of meters long. The catfish, channel catfish, blue catfish, flathead, has an olfactory system that biologists call a hypersensitive chemoreceptor. It detects chemical variations in the water in parts per billion. Studies from the University of Alabama have confirmed that catfish respond to concentrations of ferrous compounds and amino acids that laboratory instruments can barely measure. You think of it this way. It's as if someone released a drop of blood into an entire swimming pool, and the catfish tracks exactly where it came from. The iron oxide mimics the chemical signature of an injured fish crawling on the rocky bottom. The catfish's instinct tells it to attack, not because it's hungry, but because something weak and injured is there, nearby, readily available. Easy prey. The fish doesn't think. It reacts. But it's not just the sense of smell that comes into play. The articulated chain hits the bottom, creating irregular vibrations. Not the single impact of a sinker falling and remaining still, but a continuous and varied signal that changes with each variation in the current. The catfish has a lateral line, a sensory system that detects variations in pressure and vibration in the water with a precision that no human can artificially replicate. While the round tungsten sinker falls and falls silent, the current continues to speak. A double, simultaneous, constant stimulus. A chemical trail of iron plus a signal of irregular vibration. The fish senses that something is there, wounded, weak, moving, and attacks out of pure predatory instinct. This is not luck. It's not coincidence. It's not chance. It's biology that the elders discovered in practice before any laboratory could confirm it on paper. But there's one detail in the preparation that most people completely ignore. And it's precisely this detail that separates those who fill their cooler from those who go home with a near-miss story. You will need an old bicycle chain, preferably already naturally rusted, between 15 and 25 centimeters long. Salt water, 2 tablespoons of coarse salt for half a liter of water. A bucket or old plastic container. Optional, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar in the solution, which enhances oxidation. Total cost, $0 to $2, depending on where you get the chain. Direct comparison. A store-bought catfish attractant spray costs $28 and lasts for 5 fishing trips. Do the math. 1. If the chain already has natural rust, you can use it directly. If it is clean, submerge it in a saltwater solution for 48 hours outdoors, exposed to the air. The contact between the iron, the brine, and the oxygen in the air forms an active rust layer that is much more reactive than the rust that appears slowly over time. More reactivity means more release of ferrous compounds when it comes into contact with river water. 2. After 48 hours, remove the chain from the solution and let it dry in the sun for another 6 hours. Do not wash it. The brine that remains in the links enhances the chemical reaction when the chain enters the water. Most people skip this step, and that's exactly where half the effect is lost. 3. When setting up, tie the chain using a simple swivel, directly above the bait. The chain acts as the weight of the rig, between 20 and 30 centimeters above the hook. This proportion that I use here is one of those in the guide, along with other rigs for bottom fishing and different species. It's worth taking a look later. 4. The secret most people don't apply. Don't clean the chain between fishing trips. Every time it goes in the water and comes back out, it carries more accumulated reactivity. The active rust rebuilds itself with the moisture and air between outings. A well-used chain becomes more efficient over time, not less. Store it in a sealed plastic bag. It keeps the moisture and the active layer intact until the next fishing trip. Cost of an entire season, $2 maximum. Compared to $140 worth of spray paint you'd spend in the same period. No mystery there. Now, where to play and what not to do. Because there's one specific mistake that ruins everything. And the chances of you making that mistake are high if I don't warn you now. Cast near structures, submerged logs, bridge pillars, large rocks, areas where the current slows down and creates a calmer pool of water. Catfish stay in these spots waiting for food to come with the current. Channel catfish and blue catfish respond especially well in rivers with sandy and gravelly bottoms, where the current can carry the chemical trail further before dissipating. Flatheads prefer heavier structures, rotten wood on the bottom, river bends with strong currents. Adapt the spot according to the species you are after. Best times: 30 minutes before sunrise until 1 hour after sunrise, and 1 hour before sunset until 2 hours after. During these windows, the water temperature changes slightly, which accelerates chemical diffusion. The rust trail spreads faster and further. In summer, add the early morning hours between midnight and 3 a.m. as a third window. Catfish are more active when the surface water temperature drops. Now for the fatal mistake. The biggest mistake people make is taking the current out of the water to check the bait every 10 minutes. Every time you take it out, you break the scent trail that was being built on the bottom. The catfish was following that trail towards the hook. You erased its map. Cast, let it rest for at least 25 minutes. Patience here is not a virtue, it's a technique. And there's another one that seems obvious but almost everyone makes: touching the bait with your hand after using sunscreen or insect repellent. These synthetic compounds directly interfere with the chemical trail of rust and send an alarm signal into the water. The fish stop, veer away, and swim away. Wash your hands with river water before setting the bait. It's that simple. Think about the difference that makes to an entire production run. You can be in the right place, at the right time, with the right setup, and still break the schedule every 10 minutes because of impatience. 4 hours of work wasted because of a habit you didn't even know you had. Imagine your next fishing trip. While everyone else on the lake is spending $28 on a spray that lasts for 5 outings, you leave home with an old, inexpensive chain. You arrive at the spot, cast, and the current starts working. The chain hits the bottom, vibrates, and releases the metallic trail. In 40 minutes, the catfish tracks the signal, finds the bait, and strikes. You don't even know the exact moment it happens. You just feel the pull on the line. Your friends around you, changing bait, checking the weather app, adjusting their equipment for the 5th time. Look at you, confused. You'll let the catches do the talking. Your cooler starts filling up. Your friends will ask you what you used. You decide whether to tell them. Click now. Secure your access to high-level fishing, the water game, and let these strategies start transforming your next fishing trips. The link is in the first pinned comment. When you return from the water applying what you've learned, come back here and comment, "I caught more." That will be your commitment to your evolution in fishing. And perhaps it's exactly the step that separates the stories you hear from the stories you'll start telling. The old fishermen of Tennessee and Mississippi didn't need $200 worth of equipment to bring catfish home. They knew the river, they knew the fish, and they used what they had around them. That knowledge hasn't disappeared. It just stopped being taught because it doesn't generate profit for the industry. But it still works. You just saw the proof. subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.